Hello. I still need to get music added to that, but we have the new Are You Ready for the Show up and rolling. That is the doggy in that is my old boy Guinness. He is no longer with us, but he lives on the internet. Hi everybody. Welcome, welcome. It has First of all, I want to thank you for last week. I took the week off of doing a show so that I could just hang out and with the critters and watch Shrinking and get caught up on Shrinking because I saw the first season, loved it, then got really far behind. So, I needed the weekend. I also needed the weekend to rest and recharge because oh boy, has the news been much, much, much. Um I lost my train of thought. Yeah, no, everything has been kind of a lot. And so I just needed a little break. I should also say I did see that there was swirly weather happening in places far away from me. Um if it is not clear, if you're here and hanging out, and Ryan Hall y'all is on, and he's talking about your area, go there because this is on replay and or is available on replay. Speaking of replay, huge shout out to my assistant, my dad, for getting a whole bunch of timestamps on a whole bunch of previous live streams. So it should be much easier to navigate now, and you can bounce to the places that you want and all of that. If you're new here, hi, I'm Aurora, and we gather here on Saturday nights and we have a little chit chat about politics, pop culture, and court. And sometimes we get a little silly. Often we get a little snarky. I do use a lot of salty language. So if you have delicate ears, you have been warned. And what am I? Right. So I am not an expert in any of these things. I am just a nerd. I am a nerd that pays way too much attention and often will get sidetracked and go down 47 rabbit holes so that I can find answers to questions and stuff like that. I like facts. I will often say facts are friends because verifiable facts are very important. And I feel like we don't use them as much as we should in today's news world. So, opinions, I have lots. And I hope that you do too, because otherwise, why are you here? No, we but I'm going to lay out some rules. I'm going to do this a lot. It'll get annoying until we all get in the hang of it. Um, but and until it's expected, at which point I'm sure everybody will take care of everybody else and we will just nope, that's not the word I'm looking for. Anyway, we'll keep the guardrails on each other, right? And so I do lead with kindness. And while I don't want to live in an echo chamber ever, and I enjoy very thoughtful debate, and I am a thoughtful debate, and I'm a bit of a free speech absolutionist. So say what you want. Words are words. I might not like your words, but you might not like my words. And as long as we can be respectful with each other and share thoughts and ideas and not do personal attacks or name calling, sometimes that gets real hard with this regime. I know. But basically, I don't want any of us acting in bad faith. And as long as we do that, we can have a great conversation. I have changed my opinion on a lot of things as I've had thoughtful discussions with people. Um, but, this has come up a lot lately. In general, if you're hanging out in my chat, we don't dox, we don't harass, we don't take it real world. We don't do those things because we don't want those things. So, again, we lead with kindness. We can have thoughtful discussions. We can disagree, all of that. That is and if that sounds like your kind of place, then welcome. You're in the right place. That's what we're doing. We're just building community. One week at a time, we'll hang out. And let's see, what is on the docket for tonight before I go ahead and roll the intro? Um, oh, warning. So I'm the only human in the house so far. The critters are quiet. We will run with that as long as we can. But what is on the docket for tonight? Well, I don't know. Have you seen those AI Lego videos? Because they have been everywhere in my feed. Now I can't get rid of them because algorithms are a thing. And I have gone down so many rabbit holes, and so many of them are really catchy tunes. I still have some of them bouncing around in my head. Um, well, they are, I mean, ultimately, they are propaganda. And I have found myself getting frustrated at a lot of the mainstream and legacy news sources either not paying attention to them at all or really not diving into the things that they need to dive into, right? It's a really nuanced conversation. I'm not saying we're going to get through all of it tonight, but I do want to start it tonight. I'm going to share some stories of my growing up and propaganda, and we're going to look at what propaganda is and sort of break down, is what we're seeing good? Is it bad? Is it somewhere in between? I might argue it is somewhere in between because there are a lot of facts in there, but we also have to be mindful of where it's coming from and who's producing it and what their end goals may also be. So, with that, that is what we are looking at here. Let me go ahead and roll the intro, get my notes caught up because, of course, do I write the notes out before the show? Yes. Do I then read them? Generally, no. Generally, I just glance at them from time to time and then hope I stay on track. Sometimes I do. Sometimes we go down rabbit holes. That's why we have a squirrel swoop. So, with that, let me go ahead and roll the intro. While I'm doing that, let me know where you're coming in from, what you're sipping on this evening. I'm always curious. I tonight am sipping on a nice stout. It's almost gin and tonic season, but not quite. So, stout it is. All right, welcome. Let's roll. Welcome to Bark a Lot with the Aurora H. White. I'm a legal biller by trade, opinionated law and politics nerd by default. I'm here to break down the political, pop culture, and court headlines that we're all talking about. We value facts, thoughtful discussion, and salty language, so whether you're a fellow law nerd, a political junkie, or just looking for a little hope in today's crazy world, you're in the right place. Tap that subscribe button, pull up your soapbox, and let's go. Let's go. That is the second time. All right, there we go. I almost lost my notes twice. Okay. So, first, let us look at the definition of what propaganda actually is, shall we? I have it pulled up almost. Oh my goodness. I'm doing this on a new login on my computer at the moment, which means um everything is different and sometimes it wants. There it is. Good lord. I apologize for the ads. I cannot I apologize for the ads. Um So let us go back up. So we're going to start. I really wish some of these websites would actually have like a reader mode that worked on this computer. At some point, I need to just take time to figure it out because so frustrating. Because if I do reader mode, yep, nope, that's not going to work. All right. Too many ads. Too many ads, Merriam-Webster. All right, that's okay. Propaganda. One, am I just going to literally read the dictionary? Yep, I am. Yep, I am. In this particular case, we're just going to start by literally reading the dictionary because this is the best place to start as we leap into a conversation about propaganda. Ideas, facts, or allegations spread deliberately to further one's cause or to damage an opposing cause. 2, the spreading of ideas, information, or rumors for the purpose of helping or injuring an institution, a cause, or a person. A congregation of the Roman Curia having jurisdiction over missionary territories and related institutions. I feel like that doesn't relate to this particular. I think the first 2 definitions are us. So, just for yucks, let's look at what Merriam-Webster says the history of propaganda is. Propaganda today is most often used in reference to political statements, but the word comes to our language through its use in a religious context. I'm not going to try and read that because I never took Latin in school. Um, so that is what we're looking at here. I didn't read the whole history because we don't need that because that's not the main point of the conversation. But I wanted to start with the definition of propaganda: ideas, facts, or allegations spread deliberately to further one's cause or to damage an opposing cause. That is ultimately what we're looking at here, which is why those AI videos are absolutely, for sure. Where'd my mouse go? Propaganda. Now, is propaganda. Sorry, I'm messing with 3 things and trying to find my notes because I did outline several things with that. So that is a definition of what propaganda is. The AI Lego videos are absolutely propaganda because they are looking to soften Iran's image. They are also looking to harm or counteract the propaganda that the United States is putting out. And yes, the United States is also putting out propaganda. The president does propaganda things a lot. Um, it's everywhere in many different ways. I've argued that Fox News, the channel, is propaganda. I will get into that deeper. Um, but we really we really have to when we're faced with it and we can go, okay, this is propaganda, what we then need to be able to do is say who's producing it, why are they producing it, how factual is the information, because propaganda can absolutely be filled with facts. It can also be fiction, um, which is what makes it kind of tricky. So with that, let me actually swoop, and then we're gonna have story time for my first introduction with propaganda, and that's going to be our launch into a lot of the rest of the conversation tonight. So, whoa, Aurora, don't. I made my notes really big, and then it covered everything, and then I got really confused. So I guess that's a squirrel swoop. We do squirrel swoops when I get distracted, which is a lot. Okay. So I've talked about this before. Maybe you've been here with me when I've talked about it. Maybe you haven't. Maybe this is all new. But many years ago, when I was 12, 13, somewhere in there, I played Herman Goring's daughter in this play called Two. It was about Goring's Nuremberg trials and subsequent removing himself from the situation before the United States and others could um, take him out. And so, with that, as I started, so I'm 12, 13. I barely had any World War II history and that kind of thing. And so, what the director chose to do was, in order for me to be able to properly play a grieving daughter, I was only allowed her, I think her name was Emma. I cannot remember though. But I was only allowed her writings. I was allowed the propaganda that she was given in school, the things she would have seen in the newspapers and stuff like that, the public information that was very propaganda heavy. Because especially because of the age that she was at the time and the things she got in school, there was a lot of feeding the kids that information so that they would in turn, internalize it. And um, it basically the attempt was to indoctrinate them, right? So I got that propaganda. I also got her writings about who Goering was at home to his wife and daughter, which was a very different person than the one that we know in the history books, because Goering was, in my opinion, absolutely, completely evil. But his wife and daughter didn't necessarily have that notion of him because that's not what they saw and that's not the propaganda that they received. At the end of the show, there was like lesson time, right? So the director of the show, shout out to Michael Rafkin. I do believe one of the other actors in the show, David LeGraff, wonderful, wonderful people. David has sadly passed on years ago, but um, I think it was the two of them, in part because they were both teachers as well, but I do not remember. It was too long ago. I know Michael Rafkin was involved, and he sat me down and we looked at all of the pieces of propaganda that I had been given and we deconstructed it. We just went through piece by piece by piece what was factual, what wasn't factual. How can you take a fact and then twist it so that it gets your aim out there, so that it skews the vibe of the conversation, for lack of a better term, to bring it to your end goal, to change the thoughts and minds to what your ultimate goal is. And I found that lesson incredibly, incredibly helpful. One, I think we need to do it more in schools because it teaches critical thinking on a level that, to be perfectly blunt, we don't encourage in United States schools a whole lot. We just don't. And it gave me a groundwork to be able to grow up and look at news and sound bites and posters and government PSAs and stuff like that through a different set of lenses, in a sense, right? I wasn't just going to accept everything as gospel. I was looking for a different word, but that's the only word I can come up with. Um, and now in Finland, I think it's Finland, correct me if I'm wrong, chat, but I think it's Finland, where they start at the very beginning of schooling teaching age appropriate critical thinking and propaganda lessons, right? Because propaganda is everywhere and it's not all bad. It really isn't. I know the little bits that I got in school, in high school, propaganda is in the US, in the schools I went to, pretty linked with World War II, Nazis, and bad. But that's not actually the full picture, right? So not all propaganda is bad, not all propaganda is good, which is why you need to be able to train your brain, and you can train your brain to spot it, ask those questions, go down the path to see where this is coming from, and make your own decisions about it because it's everywhere and it always has been. Intelligence agencies give it to us all the time, um, especially when there's conflict happening. So we just need to be mindful of things. I guess the thing with propaganda is the first step is being able to clock it, right? When these Lego videos started to come out, a lot of people did clock it accurately as being propaganda. The flip side of that, Fox News. Fox News is technically an entertainment channel. They are not a news channel. That means the regulations that they have to come up with. And this is true. This is not just Fox. This is MS, whatever they're calling themselves now. This is um any of those CNN is another one. Those are the big three that I can think of, right? They are all classified as entertainment, not news. And that's important to know because if they were classified strictly as news, there are certain regulations and requirements that they do need to abide by and live up to that they do not have to do while being an entertainment channel. So, um Ah, oh yes, I'm getting some insight here. Good lord, I can't speak. Finland and others teach it, but they have updated curriculums, I think. Thank you. Thank you for that. Um, yep. Alan Yates says it's a sound practice to immediately question anything created specifically to influence your opinion. Absolutely 10 out of 10 this. Because the second that you spot that and you go, they are trying to make my opinion this, that, or the other, that's where the curiosity needs to kick in. It's not saying it's not saying that you need to disregard it. It's not even saying that you don't need to have I turned on some of those AI videos and listened to the tunes multiple times because they're just straight up bangers? Absolutely, I have. But I also recognize where it's coming from. And to the good, it has sparked me going down various rabbit holes of who is producing this? Why are they producing this? What sides are they on? What are we looking at? Who are they aiming to reach? That is another huge thing that when you come across propaganda, who are they aiming to reach? Whose opinion are they looking for? That's not really a good way to say it. I hope you know what I'm saying. But, um, notes, Aurora, find your notes because you had oh, Imma fight with my notes all day today. That's what's gonna happen. Um, nope, I'm gonna fight with my notes. Guys, can Aurora ever have a stream where she doesn't fight with technology? No. I'm just gonna look over here because my notes are working over here. They're not working when I try and have it in front of me. We're just gonna roll with it. That's what we're gonna do. Um, nope, there we go. Okay. The mouse wasn't talking the thing. Ah, It's always streaming is dynamic. Streaming is dynamic. I totally lost my place. There we go. Where was that? You know what we need to do. You know what we need to do. Swoop. Now, if I have my darling cousin in the chat with me, where I'm going with this next with our education system, because I personally think it needs to be taught early. I think these sorts of questions need to be taught in our school system. Do I think it's going to happen anytime soon? No. No. It's a whole nother show to do it that way. But I don't think the United States school system is set up with education being front and center. I am not including the educators in this. I am not including a lot of the people who do their level best in school. Okay. I want to make that very, very clear. The American public education system, from top down, but at the bigger outline view of the American public education system, in my view, not being an educator, is designed more around creating good little obedient workers, not well-educated human beings. And shout out to every teacher I have ever known, ever, several principals, lots of I mean, if you are in the education field, you are not getting paid enough, you are not getting enough thanks. You are not included in this because I see all of you fighting this system with everything you have and doing the best you can with the resources that you have for your students to educate them in spite of how the system is set up. I am happy to be corrected. I know the educators in my life will happily correct me if I am wrong. Maybe not in a public forum, but I welcome the comments from educators on that. I think we do need to fix that. Overall, I think we need to get back to, because when you have well-educated humans, I know I'm going on a total side rant. When you have well-educated humans, when you have critical thinkers who can look at a propaganda video, break it down, ask these questions just on their own, what we end up with instead is a wonderful functional society, and we get better jobs and more innovation and all of that. So, um, we have a lovely quote here. In politics, it is not so important who directly advocates particular views. What is important is who stands to gain from these views. Yep. Yep. And that is the questions that I had written down for when you come across propaganda. What questions immediately pop into my mind that we need to be asking ourselves? We need to be asking, who's sending this? Who is behind this particular propaganda? First of all, I don't want us coming at it thinking it's bad or it's good, right? But we need to assess who is putting this propaganda in front of us. What is the mission behind it? Is the next question to ask. Are they, with using the Iranian Lego videos, what is ultimately their mission? I think their mission is, and I'll get into the interview with BBC in a little bit, but I think what their mission is I think they're looking at reaching a huge majority of the American population, a group of the population that probably tends to lean more progressive or more liberal, because that's whose algorithms I'm seeing it in. Now it fell into my algorithm. Um, I might be wrong there, but that seems to be where the push is going. And what are they? what are they including in it? Well, they're attacking our government and the people in it. So if it's going to more liberal and left-leaning people to begin with, we're already primed to find these ideas favorable. We're already primed to like these ideas, right? So we're already a perfect group to reshare, especially in this social media age. We are the perfect s- demographic. That's the word I was looking for, to disseminate this information to even more people, because there are a lot of facts in there. And so it's very easy to go, yes, I like this. This supports my ideas. Let's just get it out there. But we have to be aware of that. So there are problems with the Iranian regime as well. It's a whole different show for us to go down the rabbit hole of what the Iranian regime is, what place the US had in putting this particular regime in place and trying to dismantle it. We've been very involved in countries that I don't think we should be so involved in, but that's a whole different show. But ultimately, I think the goal is, I think they saw what started to happen. My conjecture here, my pure speculation. I think the people behind these videos saw how many Americans started moving away from just being pro Israel, just being pro America, and specifically pro, like, when I say Israel, I'm thinking the people in leadership in the country, Netanyahu, his cabinet, not the people of Israel, and surely not Jewish people as a whole, because that's not a thing in my world. Like, they are not just one. To be opposed to Netanyahu in my world is not even remotely the same as being anti-Semitic, and I could go on another rant about that. Um, and I will. Sorry, I got distracted by chat. I see a good chat. I need to star that chat because I want to come back to it later. Um, so what is their mission with it? And I think this explosive media group thinks if they can get the majority of Americans really buying into what they're selling with these videos, it changes how to put this. I'm struggling with my thoughts. In international conflict, half of the battle is the perception, and half of the battle is support from the actual citizens. And Iran is aiming to get the support from the citizens of the United States that are already disgruntled with our own regime. And they are for sure taking advantage of a moment where they feel like they can get a lot of us to go, we side with them as opposed to with our own government. That is, I think, part of what is happening here. Which leads to the next question. What are the ulterior motives behind it? Whether you're talking a PSA, those of us old enough to have still had it's 10 p.m. Do you know where your children are? PSA on our TVs. Um, that's, we call it a public service announcement, but it's propaganda. And so what are the ulterior motives of these things? We're doing it all of the time here in the country, in our own country too. Um, so you need to be able to sort of peek behind the curtain and see which wizard is running the clockwork. That was a remarkably wicked analogy that I was not intending to go down, but we run with it. And then the next question to ask, do these motives align with my personal views and principles too? Because I think a lot of us are inclined to say if we agree with it, we assume good, but we need to be able to really examine that. And that leads to the next question to ask when faced with propaganda, which is, does it harm others or does it help others? Is it neutral? For me, if the propaganda ultimately is aiming to harm a group of people, looking at German propaganda, specifically Nazi propaganda from the 30s and 40s, and frankly, a lot of stuff this our own regime here in the US has put out. I'm gonna get throttled so hard by saying that, but it's true. There's a lot of stuff that Hegseth says or puts out or that the president puts out. The Obama video that went out a couple months ago. Like, that can fall into some of this. Um, but for me, those things harm people. I am not seeing and if there is harm involved, I think we need to start asking more questions. Um, if there isn't harm involved, like with what I'm seeing with the Lego movies, I am not seeing or the AI Lego. I don't want Lego to get stuck in the middle of all this because they certainly didn't sanction this. But I trying to think of how to phrase this, right? Like I am not seeing active harm being done. So I do need to be careful though, because the more I put on these movies and the more or the clips and the more I look at the background stuff and the more I find the little Easter eggs, how much of that is working its way into my mind and how do you put a stop on it? How do you change it? How do I mean, these are things I don't actually know. I don't actually know how we do that and how we can look at it and be careful and that kind of thing. Um, but these are ultimately questions that I would ask when faced with propaganda. And I would say these are perfectly fine questions to go through when you are watching legacy news because, like I said, they're all classified as entertainment. So we need to be looking at who owns these companies and what is their ultimate aim. Do they have a bias? Because there's always a bias in there somewhere. It's just if you know it, you can then make a more informed decision, if that makes sense. Um, and before I move on, I do want to bring this up going back to the school building discussion, and, schools my thoughts on what the current education system does. Leah says, "Sometimes I think the system problems with school are just a byproduct of the for-profit textbook and test companies lobbying coupled with other political nonsense." Yeah, I think I don't know. I have not lived through a different let me back up, Aurora. Um, my entire life has been pretty much Ronald Reagan and beyond, right? So Reagan made a fuck ton of changes to a fuckload of things that were problematic to say the least. Um, and education education would fall under that umbrella. So I am unsure of what the public education system in this country looked like in 1974, right? What were the teachers like? What was the curriculum like? I know it has just gotten steadily chipped away at and chipped away at for the reason of the textbooks, the lobbying, the for-profit industries, and the general corporate culture of the US. Um, so we've got that covered. Covered that, covered that. Notes. Where am I at? Okay. So now let's talk about the AI, these videos coming out specifically. Different swoop. Okay. This I need my notes for a little bit more because with these AI videos coming from, so BBC, I would recommend going and looking at this interview. I forgot to link it in the description. I will add it to the description. But honestly, the interview was okay, I guess. But there have been a couple of different interviews, one on CNN, one on BBC, that spoke with people from this explosive media group and asked them several questions. And I did write down a lot of the answers that caught my interest in doing it. We know that they are coming from Iran. We know that they claim to be independent from the Iranian regime. However, the Iranian regime, they also admit, are customers of theirs, and they are being allowed to transmit these, which a lot of other folks in Iran aren't able to transmit. So they have access to the journalism, media, internet, so that these can get exported over here to the US and disseminated globally. So that is something to pay attention to. Are they intricately connected? I don't know. But they are approved of, it seems, by the Iranian government as of now. So that is just something to keep in mind. Um, they are definitely objectively, if you have not seen some of these videos, they are objectively some of the most brilliant propaganda I have ever seen. They really are top notch. And part of them being top notch is, and I'm saying that not in that I agree with the overall arching things. I agree with parts of it. I disagree with parts of it. I am wary of the source, but looking at it just as propaganda, as a neutral thing of, is this good propaganda as far as getting information to people and changing hearts and minds, it is objectively very well crafted. And I know it's AI, but you can tell that there is a working with AI with these. The other thing about them being AI, and I'm not seeing this discussed a whole lot, because they are AI generated, they can disseminate faster. They can disseminate faster than YouTube can take them down, right? And the reason for that is because there is no copyright on AI produced videos or artistic material. So you're not going to have the copy claims and the copy strikes that automatically appear from, ironically, other AI things that filter those and scan for those. So that is the other thing that makes them really, really smart. Um, the other thing is they do have, I said it before, I'll say it again, they have enough facts, and it's aimed at a majority of the United States population, and they're piggybacking on various ideas of protests. They have one that references the No Kings protests. So they're aiming at a very specific demographic. They're hopping on a lot of the internet talking points, and they're building some very catchy tunes around it. And when I say the majority, I know MAGA wants to think that they are more than they are. I know they wanna think that they are the majority. There is not polling that I have ever seen that indicates that to actually be true. So, the other groups that these AI videos are aiming for, they are aiming for the independents, the moderate Democrats, because they kind of already have the progressives. If you're really looking at these videos, the musical style, stuff like that, they pretty much have progressives like me on lock. Like, we're just gonna watch it, jam along, and a lot of us aren't going to think that much deeper about it. Um, and then what are we gonna do? We're gonna turn around and share it with our friends and all of that. So things to be aware of. But you know who's not gonna end up watching a lot of these or having their minds changed? MAGA. And that is very clear in a lot of these videos. So that's something to think about. Because it does tell us that we are the majority because they're operating on intelligence that they have from their work. You know, we're not the only ones who have a version of the CIA. And the other thing is the amount of facts they have in there make it real easy to glaze over the fact that they are not including all leadership in this, you know? So, um, that is I'm looking to see if I've missed anything. I don't think I have. Oh, no, I did. I did miss something. The other reason that that our demographic, I say our, I'm assuming most of the folks joining me at this point are probably on the more progressive liberal side with me. If you're not, welcome anyway. But I think I think another reason why we are actively being targeted by this propaganda campaign is we're loud and we are already doing the work to dismantle the MAGA regime. I mean, trust me, they're doing plenty on their own. There's a whole lot we need to talk about in that regard, but we're already doing the work. We're already building community. We're going to the protests. We are hanging out here in on this YouTube channel and other YouTube channels. And we are sharing information. We're supporting our friends. These are not small things. And so by getting the propaganda in front of our eyes so that we are looking at this and we are talking about it and we're sharing it with our friends, neighbors, what have you, I would suspect that part of the aim is capture the hearts and minds of this majority so that we can do a lot of the dismantling work for Iran without them ever having to do it, put boots on the ground. With it is a form of warfare. Um, it is a nonviolent form of warfare, and so I think they are operating using the propaganda to try and prime us to support them down the road. I don't think I'm enough of an expert to go deeper than that, but um, that is my gut feeling with this. And what we need to take from that is we need to be careful to look at these videos critically, but we can use some of the information that we can go back and we can fact check a lot of this. We need to keep pressure up about the Epstein files. We need to keep pressure up about just trying to make people in power follow the most basic of laws. Um, we need to keep them from chipping away at our right to free speech, our right to assemble, those sorts of things. So we do need to be careful, but I think we can be careful and not wholly dismiss, if that makes sense. Props to this explosive media group, truly, because they took something that we feel should be simple, propaganda good, propaganda bad, and made it real complicated. Um, so that is the one thing in my notes that I know that I missed, and I'm double checking. Oh, nope. See, this is why I write notes, because then I go back and then I go, "Oh, no, I need to cover this." Um, I do need to point out, this is my stance on this. I think this is a lot of people's stance on it in general, um, especially when we're dealing with Iran and Israel and the United States and really a lot of the other countries, Lebanon, Pakistan, a lot of those countries that are all involved in this conflict that came about because I don't know, our president had a bad day. But when we look at the conflict that is happening, I think what we need to be mindful of, and this is something that is in these propaganda videos, and I do agree with it. Pretty much across the board, I agree with it, which is the people of all of these nations are not their regime. There are always supporters in amongst the people, but the people and the regime are not the same when we are dealing with this particular cast of characters. And we do need to be mindful of that because if well, for example, there's been a lot of folks when complaining about Israel immediately jump to anti-Semitism. For me, it's I don't really ca I don't I realize that it is a privilege of mine to be able to say this. I don't care who you are. If you are a good person, I'm gonna support you. I don't care what your religion is, as long as you don't force it on me. I've never, ever, ever met anyone of the Jewish faith who has tried to convert me, obviously. But so I don't have any issue. Are you do you like I can have conversations with them about their religion or about different things that they do that maybe I'm curious about or I want more information on. Netanyahu is just a dictator with a really bad attitude and too many explosives. That is my opinion because every ceasefire, he seems to be the first one to bomb somebody else. I do not consider the citizens of Israel on the same level as Netanyahu. I think personally they should be mad at him. Like I am mad at Trump because he doesn't represent me at all. At all. Didn't vote for him, wouldn't vote for him. I don't think he has the ability to do the job he's doing. Um, and if you think that's just because I'm a liberal, let me tell you, we have an election in Maine coming, and I have thoughts about people that I'm supposed to agree with. So, yeah. Um, I will no, I had a side quest, but I don't feel like side questing on that. We can circle back to this. Um, I am gonna swoop because then the next thing that I want to talk about before I wrap up for the night is the question of should YouTube be banning them from the platform? So that's a question. That's a question for you, chat. That's a question in the comments. I personally am really torn on if YouTube should be banning them from the platform. I mean, we still have Alex Jones out there. We still have, and I'm going to use him as often as I can because he is an adjudicated liar. Um, and we still have like freaking Turning Point USA garbage out there. I'm not saying it's all garbage, but they do put out a fair amount of garbage. Nick Fuentes, who was deplatformed and then was not deplatformed and then got his platform back. And then, so we've been through all of this, and I find myself kind of stuck because I tend to be a bit of a free speech absolutionist. I get into a lot of fights with my liberal friends about this because I I tend to be very much free speech, even if I hate it, even if the words themselves, I mean, within reason, because words can do harm, but that is why we have courts. That is why we have things like defamation suits and things like that. We have a lot of precedents that put guardrails on speech to an extent, but they don't. So in a platform like YouTube, which is protected by Section 230, which means that I'll go over it at some point. Chat, tell me if you want me to do a deep dive on Section 230 at some point because it comes up a lot because I'm on the internet. And basically, the short form is that Section 230 says that YouTube can host things, but they don't um, condone or nope, that's not the word. Nope, that's not the word either. I can't find words tonight. I don't know why I can't find words tonight. But basically, that they are just the platform and what I say is on me. Right? My words are my words and my opinions, all of that. So I have a hard time with some of the censorship that YouTube then enacts, right? The fact that there's no way I have said so many words in this YouTube show tonight that if I were monetized, I would be demonetized. If I was and I can almost guarantee that this will not go out via algorithm because I've said too many of the words that YouTube doesn't like. But it's complicated. Leah says banning it opens a crazy door of what constitutes ban-worthy propaganda and what could be manipulated pretty easy, and that could be manipulated pretty easily. I think sticking to defamation guidelines makes more sense. Yeah, I mean, I have a really hard time with this being banned and with platforms chasing down these things that it's first of all, it's not working. Second of all, I think it might just Streisand affect everything because now that we know that they're banning them and they're banning them for violent images. I mean, Okay, yeah, but it's also Lego, like, it's AI Lego stuff, and we are in the middle of a conflict, so when we send missiles to a place, when we bomb schools, that's violent. You turn on the news, it's violent. It's I feel like I personally am of the opinion of if we're gonna let Alex Jones and Nick Fuentes and the manosphere have their platforms, and I think that fine. I don't subscribe to it, but here's the thing, I don't have to watch it. And I can not talk to people who do watch it and enjoy it. That's my personal take on it. Like, I love sitting here hanging out with you guys, having conversations, doing the chats. Not everybody is going to like what I have to say. I already have some comments of people leaving the, standard personal insults in my general direction kind of comment, as opposed to actually commenting on the subject matter. Fine, you disagree with me? Fine. You can go watch one of these folks. If you're more of a Tucker person, go watch Tucker. I'm not going to watch Tucker. He drives me insane, and aside from the fact that he has really bad ideas in my opinion, he also has a laugh that is just incites violent thoughts in my mind. Let us just say that. I will never act on them. It would take too much work, and he's not worth it. But yeah, that laugh of his is angering, to say the least. It inspires my more violent tendencies. So anyway, that's the last question that I had, and is should they be banned or not? And what does it mean if we're banning that, but we're also platforming, well, all the folks I just mentioned, right? We're still platforming Tucker Carlson, who has a lot of propaganda. Megyn Kelly turning again, like the whole Charlie Kirk Turning Point USA. That's a fuckload of propaganda in there too. But we're giving them the room and we're banning, like, it seems I want us to have a more nuanced conversation about this. Maybe not here in this particular chat, but like just in general in our communities. Um so yeah. Hey guys, it's only just over an hour. I just finished. We have had an amazing conversation so far tonight. I'm so glad we started this propaganda conversation. I did not get to the BBC interview. Um, I would go check that out if you are interested. You do have to be, I am going to say this. You do need to be in a place where you can pause and read subtitles because the conversation is half in English and half in Persian. So, Persian? I think. So, for me, I had to pause to be able to read the subtitles, to be able to read the answers. Um, Anyway, I just wanna put that out there because that can be more difficult for others. With that, um, I can circle back to this. I feel like this is not the end that we are gonna see of this. So, but I did want us to really have a conversation about propaganda and the questions we should all be asking as we're being presented with more and more and more of it. Um, with that, I'm gonna do one more scroll swoop, mostly because I wanna see the squirrel again, and I have gone on separate routes. I've squirreled much this evening. And then we'll wrap up and while we're swooping, are there topic. There is so much out there in the world of politics, pop culture, and court. I mean, we have Blake Lively and Baldoni. We've got Karen Reed back in court. We've got, um, well, the news. We have so much happening. So please let me know if there's anything that you want me to have my eyes on. All right. It has been amazing. I am so glad to be back. Thank you all for taking last week off with me. I think I was not the only one that needed it. I really am grateful that I was able to recharge. I have only a few episodes of Shrinking left. I'm gonna go watch that as I head out tonight. Um, links, I do need to put the link specifically to this hoodie in the description of the video, but the website is linked. I can't guarantee it's not going to be before next week, but within the next couple days, I am going to put a link to the Bark a Lot shop in the description of the video because, well, I'm sponsoring myself. I'm going to take a minute and sponsor myself because I have cool merch and I need to add t-shirts and tank tops and things like that to the list and figure out pride stuff and, all that jazz. That's all housekeeping for me. You guys didn't need all those inside thoughts, but, I love y'all. And so sharing or boring you, one of the two. You either got a first look or you rolled your eyes real hard. I don't really I that's streaming. That's streaming. That's how we do it. You guys have been so amazing. Thank you for hanging out. Go ahead and hit that like button. Go ahead and hit that subscribe button. Yes, we all say it. Why? Because the algorithm is a fuzzy little thing and we like to keep her happy. So, and those things do that. They also support the growth of the channel, and that means the growth of the community because that's what I'm building here. Why? Because I felt like it, and now I'm on a mission. And now I'm just like, no, we're going to build a community of well-educated, super smart, awesome, nerdy people. That's what we're doing over here at Barkalot. And it is Saturday. You guys have been amazing. Go check out the shop, check out the webpage. There are memberships on there too. Things that you get with membership to the channel, members only live stream, show notes so you can see the chaos that I create for myself or my attempt to organize the chaos of my brain. All of that. There is so much there. You guys are awesome. Thank you so much for hanging out with me. Thank you for going on this wild ride with me. As always, let me know what you want me covering. Let me know if there's a story that you're like, oh, girl, you are going to have thoughts on this. I've given up trying to figure out what I'm going to do week to week because I mean, I could spend next week talking about my state and my governor making me real big mad. We could do that. We could do that. I already have the thumbnail in my head. Let me know if that's something that you want us to dive into or if we want to do a lighter week. I'm happy either way. You guys are amazing. As always, be well, do good, and remember to bark a lot. I will see you on the next one. Thank you for joining us for another episode of Bark a Lot. Follow me on Threads and Insta at the Aurora H. White. That's where I post most frequently between shows. Hit that like button, connect with us, and remember to bark a lot. We will see you next time.